Okay, well, I am Kevin and I'm an alcoholic. And thanks to you kind and loving people, I've been sober since September the 26th, 2009. And that's God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, for sure. Um, the, the topic that I like to talk about more than any other topic is my primary purpose, which is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that, I believe, if you're not formally working the steps, and at step 3, you'll wonder what God's will for you is. Well, if you're at step 3, God's will is 4 through 12. But if you've formally already worked the steps and you're practicing these principles in all your affairs, your primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that, to me, is God's will for me today. And I'd like to share some stuff out of the big book. And I'm going to go backwards in the book, starting on page 85. It, it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We're headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the visions of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along these lines all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. And then on page 35, in one of the stories, um, talks about, we told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled and he began to work as a salesman for a business he had lost through drinking. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. To his consternation, he found himself drunk a half a dozen times in rapid succession. But in Bill's story, it clearly tells me how to enlarge my spiritual life and what I need to do. And on page 14, it says, my friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. Faith without works was dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again. And if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. And um, for me, I've definitely have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition, because this program gave me everything I need not to need this program. You know, I'm all healed up, I'm haired over, I've got my life back, I've got my job back, I've got financial security, I'm not in trouble with the law anymore. I've got every reason in the world to quit doing this deal. And but it clearly tells me in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that if I do that, I'm in trouble. And so I have to stay active, and I have to carry this message to the alcoholics that still suffer. That's what I have to do in order to keep my sobriety. And I don't always want to. You know, I don't always want to go to a meeting. I don't always want to work with a sponsee. I don't always want to carry a meeting into the treatment center. I don't want to be of service and set up for the function. I don't want to be of service and open the meeting and make coffee and straighten chairs and clean up after and do all that stuff. There's a lot of times that I don't want to do those things, but I have to. I have to show up and suit up for the program that gave me a life that I never knew I wanted, because I never knew that I wanted a life of sobriety. You know, I felt sorry for people that were sober. because when they woke up in the morning, that was as good as they were going to feel all day. And I felt sorry for people that thought that this way of life was a good deal. So I never knew that I wanted this life. And I used to say it gave me my life back, but you couldn't run fast enough to give me that life back. I don't want that life back. I much prefer the life that I have today. And in order for me to keep the life that I have today, I have to work with others and I have to be of service to this fellowship. I couldn't imagine going through life and um, having this gift that was so freely given to me and not share that with somebody else. And I really promised the men that shared it with me uh, that I would do that for somebody else because that was all that they wanted. You know, I was so appreciative to my sponsor and always thanking him for all that he did for me and all that, and asked him what I could do for him. And the only thing he asked of me was for me to do it for somebody else. And, you know, they always said that I helped them more than they helped me. And I never really believed that until I started sponsoring people. And now I know exactly how they feel. I was talking to a young gentleman that I'm sponsoring right now earlier today, and I was telling him that's the secret is little do they know they're helping me stay sober way more than I'm helping them. They give me so much more than I give them. And that's the way this deal works is, you know, A helps B and A gets better. And A helps A and B gets better. And I have no idea how that works, but I know I've gotten way better by helping other people. And, you know, if you think that Alcoholics Anonymous is a self help program, I think you've missed the boat because it's a helping others program. It's not about helping yourself, it's about being there to help other people. Um, just like the statement that we have hanging on most clubs around here, the responsibility statement. You know, when anybody anywhere reaches their hand out for help, I want the hand of Alcoholics Anonymous to be there. And I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible to pick up the phone. I'm responsible to be there when I say I'm going to be there. I'm responsible for keeping the club open. I'm responsible for helping the newcomer and giving them this gift that was so freely given me. And there's nothing that I enjoy more. Like I said, I don't always want to, but I'm always glad I did when it's over. Um, and there's nothing that I enjoy more than seeing the light come on in the newcomer's eyes. And I had an old timer tell me once that feeling that you get inside when you see somebody you've helped get this deal, that's God smiling on the inside of you. And man, I love that feeling. And I want more of it, just like I wanted more alcohol. You know, I want more of that. I can't get enough of it. And so I try to help anywhere and everywhere I can. Um, and when AA asks, I show up, no matter unless it's just absolutely impossible for me to be there. I show up and I do what I can to help this fellowship. And just like when Z called earlier, I was in another Zoom meeting and she asked if I could fill in for somebody that canceled on the last minute. And I was like, well, what time? She said 8:30. And well, my last Zoom meeting ended at 8:30. That's why I was a little late logging on. But I told her I'd be here. And that's what we do. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous showed up for me. And now I have to show up for Alcoholics Anonymous to help the next guy because I couldn't imagine not being here for them. when those guys were here for me. And I appreciate all of y'all showing up tonight and thinking enough of y'all's recovery and enough of my recovery for being here. And thank you for letting me share.